Hey everyone, how's it going? Hope you guys had a good Thursday, enjoying your day. Cooled off a little bit, which is good, especially for people out here that don't have air conditioning. I'm sure you guys are all appreciating that too. Um, we'll go and we'll get started in just a second. I'm going to give a little bit more time for people to hop on and whatnot too, and then we'll get started. And then if you guys have any burning questions that you guys want answered right off the bat, you can drop those in the comments. What's up, Brooks? How's it going? Could you guys comment and let me know if you guys are able to hear me okay? And then we had some audio issues last time. So it'd be good if we can eliminate those. I'm always interested too on where everybody's tuning in from. I think last time I asked you guys, or the last workshop, you guys were mainly around this area, but I know some people went home during this time and whatnot too. So, yes, earbuds are on, Brooks. I believe. I think so. Hope so. All right. Thanks, Chris. Thanks, John. Perfect. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. All right, guys. Yeah, we'll just give about another minute. Bear with me. If you guys haven't already, make sure you sign up. Sign up for the workshop, and then also it's also the liability waiver. Main thing is, I don't want you guys I just dropped that in the comments too, so you guys can click on that. It's a very quick form. Just sign that. Main thing is I don't want you guys diagnosing yourselves. We're going to be covering some injuries that are common with squats. So if you guys could just do that and fill it out, that'd be perfect. And this is also the way that I am able to send the exercise that we're going to go over tonight to your guys' email. So you guys don't have to try and memorize or take notes or anything like that. These will all be sent to your guys' email following the workshop, as long as I get your email through the liability waiver. Chris, Olaf from 34th and Telegraph. Not far at all. Love it. Love it. All right, guys. So let me pull up my my forms here, my PowerPoint. Question for you guys. I've been mainly doing these workshops with just just so you guys can see me and so I can demonstrate and things too. Would it be beneficial for me to show you my slides too? I won't be able to do it for this workshop, but for future ones, if you guys think that would be beneficial instead of having to stare at me for an hour, that would be, I'm sure that having the PowerPoints would probably be good. But if not, let me know. I can tailor it to either way, whichever works best for you guys and whatever you guys prefer to. All right. Okay, we'll go ahead and we'll get started, guys. So if you're watching this workshop and want to learn, one, how to improve your squat mobility, or two, you're having some irritation or pain during squats, you want to figure out how to fix that and how to be able to squat pain-free, then you are in the right spot. Okay, that's exactly what we're going to be covering tonight. For those that don't know me or haven't came to the other workshops, my name is Dr. Ben, and I'm a physical therapist with Pro+Kinetix Physical Therapy and Performance. I'm technically kind of your guys' neighbor. I'm in the Hive district, kind of right across from the YMCA, so not far from you guys at all. All right. Okay, and Brooks says, I like seeing your demo exercise. Can you split screen or go back and forth between you and the slides? Yeah, I could do that, Brooks. I'm still getting used to the whole Facebook Live thing. So what I'm gonna do is I'll practice a little bit so I don't crash and burn before the next workshop. I'm not gonna do it for this one, but for the next workshop, I'll see what I can do. I should be able to. In theory, it makes sense. But yeah, I'll see what I can do. But yeah, like I said, we're physical therapists. There's also Dr. Mike and Dr. Colin. We're all certified strength and conditioning specialists, not just physical therapists. We're not the type of physical therapists that you go and see and we're not going to be telling you to stop squatting or stop working out. There's such a large variety of ways of how we can make changes or make modifications to squatting without having to actually stop. All right, one of the worst things you can actually do if you have an injury is stop working out. All right, this just leads to a cascade of issues. Your muscles get weaker and just puts you at increased risk for injury down the road too. All right. So if you guys came to the low back workshop, you guys heard the story about how I had gone to, I had low back pain, also some knee pain too. With squats, way back when, before I even got into physical therapy school, and I went and saw my doctor, and he's like, really, what's the, just if it hurts doing squats or deadlifts, you just stop doing it. And I'm like, well, no, like that's not how I want to live life, is not being able to work out how I want to. Anyways, he referred me to physical therapy, and the physical therapist kind of told me the same thing too. They're like, well, if you're only really having pain with squats and lunges and stuff like that, just avoid the things that are causing irritation. All right, and I didn't like that answer. Personally, it looked like I kept working out. It kind of worked itself out over time, and I sought out another physical therapist that kind of helped guide me from afar. But anyways, once I got into physical therapy school and started learning more and more, and learning more even outside of physical therapy school, I realized how ridiculous that statement was. That I went and saw 2 medical professionals, and they both told me to stop working out when there's a clear-cut solution on it. All right, and it kind of makes me upset whenever I talk about it because it's so ridiculous. But it's a super common thing that we see. A lot of times when patients come see us, it's because they failed PT or failed chiropractic, or their physician told them to stop working out, and they're not taking no for an answer, which is great because you shouldn't, because there's a solution. But we hear it over and over again that, the physical therapist or other professionals told me to stop working out. And so I just want you guys to know that you can get back to squatting pain-free. And we'll also be talking about not just getting out of pain-free, but also improving your mobility as well, making sure, if you're not having pain, it stays that way. So that brings me to my next topic is, can you guys comment, just so I kind of can tailor, I can kind of spin this workshop a little bit differently too, based on, who I'm talking to and what you guys are having pain with or struggling with. So I want you guys to comment if you're here to learn if you're having pain with squatting, or if you're here and wanting to learn how to squat pain-free, or sorry, if you just want to improve your mobility, or if you want to learn how to squat pain-free. You guys could let me know that, just so I kind of have an idea of who I'm talking to, because if this group is nobody's having pain with squats, then we can just double down and tackle mobility, and make sure it stays that way. But if we got a group that's having quite a bit of pain, then I want to make sure I kind of tailor to people that are having pain and whatnot too. So if you guys could let me know, that would be awesome. And then if you guys are having pain, go ahead and comment too where you are having the pain at. All right, we kind of got smaller groups, and I think we got right around 8 or 9 people. All right, so we can kind of tailor it to you guys. All right. Hi, and I'm pain. Want to improve mobility. Awesome. Thanks, Caitlin, for filling me in. All right, so that's 1 vote for mobility. Very good. That's kind of what I had planned for tonight anyways, was more of mobility. So that's good. All right, if anybody else can chime in and let me know, that would be awesome. Let me pull my slides back up. And if we had an issue too last time with our connectivity, we actually had a timeout. And if we get kicked off, I'll just restart the live again, and we'll pick right up where we left off. All right, but like I said, luckily there's a solution to all this, and you can improve mobility if you're having difficulty with depth. The exercise we're gonna be going over tonight is gonna definitely help with that. All right. All right. No pain and no mobility. All right, Peter. All right. It sounds like we'll tackle mostly mobility tonight. Okay. Unless I hear differently. All right. So that's awesome. Glad you guys aren't having pain. Let's keep it that way. Okay. So our specialty is helping active adults and athletes in Oakland and surrounding Bay Area get back to workouts and sports they enjoy, and CrossFit without surgery, medications, injections, and surgery and stuff like that. Chris says not much pain either, but wanted to improve feet point forward squats. Usually need to point out 30 to 40 degrees. Okay, Chris. So I'm going to just address that question right away. We're going to touch on it a little bit more. So, Chris, there's a couple different ways to squat. You can squat with your toes pointed forward. You can ankle out a little bit. I don't like to see, everybody's mobility and anatomy, everybody's anatomy and stuff is just a little bit different. Everybody's got different torso angles. Different torso lengths. Everybody's got different femur lengths. Everybody's got different tibia or shin lengths, and so that's going to change how some people will squat. All right, no matter how good somebody's mobility is, it might just be more comfortable just based on their skeletal system to actually angle out a little bit. Me personally, I angle out just a tad bit. Okay, it's just based on there's actually some tests that we can do, orthopedic measurement tests, to figure out what way is the most ideal way for you to squat. Obviously, I can't do those tests virtually, but we can kind of figure that out too. But really, a good way is just to figure out what feels comfortable. A lot of times, people, even if they have great mobility, just based on their skeletal system, they'll never be able to comfortably squat with their toes going forward, and that's okay. It doesn't put you at increased risk for injury to toe out of it. I don't really like to see somebody toed out at like 45 degrees. Okay, that's a little bit extreme. There are some people out there that have the skeletal, not deformities, but just abnormalities that make it so they do have to go at 45 degrees. Most of the time, people are going to fall in the category of where they should be just slightly toed out. This is about as far toed out as I like to see, or pointing straight ahead. Okay, so it is okay to toe out a little bit, but we want to try and decrease that as much as possible. Okay. Oh, the earbuds. Hard to hear when you're far away. All right, hold on. Let's see here. All right, guys. Are you able to hear me? It's okay to have your toes angled out a little bit. You don't want to be going much more than 45-degree angles. Okay, it is okay to be just slightly angled out or pointing straight ahead. Okay, hopefully that makes sense, Chris. But yeah, we'll be addressing that a little bit more in depth. Okay, and how you can kind of achieve that if that's one of your goals. Can't hear me anymore, Brooks? Okay, awesome. All right, sorry about that. I don't know what's going. Mine are probably closer to slightly angled out. Okay, good. All right, Chris. Yeah, you're okay with that. It's not going to put you at increased risk for injury or anything like that. But the mobility, the 30 to 40 estimate was probably overestimated. Okay, all right. Well, either way, the exercise and mobility stuff we're going to be going over tonight is going to help loosen up that hip and help get it so you can start working towards more of the toes pointing forward. But again, don't force feed that if it doesn't feel natural, even after the mobility, okay? Some people just more naturally prefer going straight ahead, okay? So objectives for tonight is we may go briefly over just common injuries just so you guys have an awareness of what to watch out for so you guys can catch kind of early signs of something that might not be right. We're also going to be going over mobility that's required for the squats. And we're also going to I'm going to give you guys some self-assessments that you guys can do that we're going to go over tonight and give you guys an idea. Is it ankle mobility that's restricted? Is it your hip mobility? Or where are these restrictions coming that's not allowing you to squat, all right, the way you want to, or decreasing your depth? All right, and then a little bit brief prevention of injury stuff, and then most importantly, we'll be going over those self-mobilization techniques that you guys can do. Does everybody have like a mobilization band, like a thick rogue band or anything like that? Because we'll be going over a couple different things, different levels. We're going to go over kind of entry level, and then we're also going to show you guys more aggressive stuff. So obviously, I don't know where everybody's at in the continuation. Some people might be super basic and kind of at the entry level, and some people might need more aggressive banded mobilizations. So I'll be going over the banded mobilizations for sure, but I just want to make sure that you guys have those if possible. If not, you're going to get the videos of it and something that you guys can do once the gym opens up and you guys are able to utilize the bands and whatnot too, okay? Most importantly, I want to answer any questions that you guys have as well, all right? No questions are off the table. I'm here to help, okay? So, key mobility points of what we need, all right? We need mobility at the ankle, knees, and the hips. If we have limited mobility at any of those 3 joints, there has to be compensation that's occurring at another joint. So for example, if I have limited ankle range motion, I'm going to need increased reliance from the hips and knees to make up for that. All right? And a lot of times we don't have, especially with how much people sit throughout the day, you have to have crazy hip mobility, all right, to be able to make up for lack of ankle mobility. All right? And yeah, when we sit for a long period of time, more sedentary, but just how the U.S. is as a nation, it's hard to make up that mobility in the hips. Okay, and when we have that, when we have limited hip mobility, then we start seeing more of a butt wink. You guys heard the term butt wink? Butt wink occurs when we go deeper into a squat, and this is a big cause of low back pain. All right, it's actually what was the reason I was having low back pain before I got into physical therapy school and was doing deeper squats. Let me pull the slide. There we go. All right. So a butt wink happens, or a butt wink for those that don't know what it is. So you guys see how my low back, there's a natural curvature there? All right. We need to maintain that throughout the entirety of the squat. All right. However, as you guys can see, I maintain, and then as I get deeper, you guys see how my hips kind of tuck underneath me? Okay, that's a butt wink. All right, now you can see my low back is rounding. And those that came to the low back workshop, you guys know why that's problematic. Long story short, it can cause some disc irritation and low back pain. And so when we have limited ankle range motion and hip range motion, and we don't have that requirement, then we start getting compensation from the low back, and it's not pretty from there. All right. Brooke says I only have a small band I use for pull aparts, not really strong enough for ankle or hip mobs. John says only small band as well. Okay, all right, guys, we'll go over. We're gonna go over some mobilizations that you can do without any equipment, and then I'm just gonna throw in some bonuses of the banded ones. All right, that you guys can use for reference when you have availability or access to the gym. But you're still gonna be able to make improvements through the exercise I'm gonna show you without the bands. The bands are just a little bit more aggressive, and it's for people that, if you're like me, I don't like to go to the gym and have to spend 20 minutes to warm up and cool down. These banded exercises are gonna be able to allow you to get in, get out. What I mean by that is do like 5 minutes of these banded mobilizations. You're gonna be good to go for squats. Right? You're not gonna have to spend a whole lot of time. For those that feel like you have to spend a whole lot of time to warm up properly and get that mobility to squat properly. These are gonna be a little bit more intense and pretty aggressive and but effective. All right. So you guys will have access to that. And again, I'll be sending these through your video, through your email in video format for you guys too. All right. Any questions on like why mobility is important? All right, and how that can lead to injuries. So we also have to have mobility. If anybody's having pinching in the front of their hips, let me know. That's all, like when they get deep into a deeper squat, that's also a common thing that I see a lot as well. And so the reason that happens is we have our hip joint, okay? The head of the femur, okay, this is our thigh bone, okay? And that head of the femur fits in that socket. We have our hip flexors. This is the front of the pelvis, this is the back. And we have hip flexors that attach from here down to here and then insert down at the femur. And so if we've been sitting for long periods of time, and our hip flexor is actually in a shortened position, okay? And so when it's in a shortened position for long periods of time, that hip flexor gets really tight. So guess what that does? Because it's attached at that pelvis, it actually tilts our pelvis into what we call an anterior pelvic tilt. So it's a fancy term for saying that it tilts our pelvis forward, all right? And then when we go into a deeper squat, okay, and our knees get closer to our chest, all right, in that direction, we get pinching that occurs earlier, okay, because our hips are tight, all right? So if you guys are sitting for a long period of time throughout the day, we're gonna go over an exercise that's gonna help free this up, all right? And when we loosen up the hip flexors, guess what that does? It repositions that pelvis, right? Now you guys can see, because I'm tilting back, now I have more room to work with before that pinching occurs, allowing me to get into a deeper squat, okay? So that's another common pain that we see as well with squats, especially like ass to grass squats, okay? All right. that kind of covers the mobility. Let's get into some testing so you guys can see where your restrictions are coming. Are they at the ankle or are they at the hip? And getting a better sense of that. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna turn my laptop so you guys can see. I'm gonna speak extra loud in case my headphones aren't connected. Okay, it should be. I don't know what's going on. All right, so what you're gonna do is you're gonna go up to a wall, okay, and you're gonna take your foot, bring that toe up to the wall, all right, and then you're gonna take this knee and drive it to the wall. Okay? Should be able to touch your knee to the wall. And if you're able to do that, again, we don't want that heel coming up. All right, if you're able to do that, we're going to go inch by inch back. Can you still hear me though, Brooks, when I do that? Even though I'm further away, are you guys still able to hear me? I don't know why they want it, because I did this earlier this morning, it was working. All right, what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna bring the laptop with me. All right, so what you guys wanna do is you're gonna be bringing, okay, bring that foot up, and then you're gonna be taking that knee and driving it to the wall. Okay, and then you're gonna be going inch by inch back. Okay, again, you don't want that heel coming up, and we're just gonna go inch by inch until I start running out of room or start feeling that ankle or that heel come up. Okay, I'm not going to tell you guys what the norms are and what you should be aiming for, because I don't want you to cheat. Okay, we're going to do that on both sides. Okay, I want you guys to take note on if you're feeling a difference or notice a difference between left and right. Okay, we want symmetry there. Okay, inch by inch until we start running out of room. Okay, all right. While you guys are doing that, I'm going to kind of jibber jabber and talk about why then that's important. All right. So when we go into a squat. When we go into a deep squat, so let's say this is my foot, okay, and this is my shin. When I go into a deeper squat, my shin has to advance over the top of my toe, okay? If that doesn't happen, then we need compensation from the knee and the hip, okay? All right, I want you guys to go ahead and put in the comments how many inches away from the wall you guys were able to get, okay, before that heel came up, on both left and right. Okay. They actually found that you're better off having two equally bad ankles than one that has good range of motion and one that's bad. All right, that's how important how much our body needs symmetry and how much it can impact injuries and our injury risk. Okay. So I'll let you guys finish up there. Again, put in the comments if you guys can, so I have a good idea of where you guys are restricted at, if it is the ankles. Okay. So ideally, you should be, what the research shows is for normal walking pattern, we need ideally 3 inches away from that wall, okay, to be able to bring our foot back 3 inches away from that wall without the heel lifting up. For deep squats, we need about 4 to 5 inches. All right, Caitlin, that's awesome. Good. All right. So it sounds like, Brooks, you got 5+ on both, but one is way better than the other. Okay. Chris says about 3.75. All right, you guys are doing pretty good. All right, not bad, not bad. All right, it's not uncommon when I do these workshops for people to be at like 1 or 2 inches. All right, Peter, 3 inches on both. Good. All right, so it sounds like most of you guys won't be impacted with everyday walking, which is good. And you guys wouldn't notice like pain or anything with walking or anything like that if you were limited. It just changes the way we walk. We might toe our feet out. The reason that some of you guys, who was it? Was it Chris? Yeah, Chris was saying that he angles out a little bit with his toes. So that's a way to compensate for 1, poor hip mobility, or 2, poor ankle mobility. When we toe, if we point our toes out, it makes up for poor ankle mobility, okay? So if you guys see like how LeBron James walks, he really walks with his toes pointed out. I guarantee if I did an assessment on him, his hips are probably pretty tight and his ankles are pretty tight. But that also goes to show that even if you are restricted, doesn't mean you can't perform at a high level, right? It's like one of the best athletes in the world, if not the best. I know it's kind of a touchy subject in the Bay Area to talk about LeBron, but It just goes to show how high you can still perform, even if you have mobility restrictions. But if you can clean up, you might as well. Right? It's also going to improve your performance. But anyways, that's how modifications or ways you'll know if you see somebody walk with their toes pointed out. A lot of times it's ankle restrictions. Okay? So that's one way that will change up the walking pattern. Two, if we don't have that 4 to 5 inches when we squat for a deep squat pattern, then yeah, we're not going to be able to achieve that deep. We're not going to be able to go to ass to grass because our heel's going to start lifting up. Who here has like weightlifting shoes? I'm also curious. I always ask this too. Do you guys? A lot of people don't know why they're wearing weightlifting shoes. For those that don't know, the reason that people wear weightlifting shoes is because it has an elevated heel. All right. When we start our squat and we have an elevated heel, we're starting in more. We have more available ankle range motion to play with. All right, because we're already starting on our toes, it allows us to have more range of motion to be able to go deeper. Okay. Hopefully that kind of makes sense. That's essentially why that people wear weightlifting shoes, just because to make up for the ankle mobility, all right, and allow for people to get into a deeper squat, and it just feels more natural too. Okay, if you guys don't have weightlifting shoes, what I would encourage you guys to do is take like a 5-pound plate and place it under your heels on both sides, squat with and without it, and see which one feels better. The only thing we're manipulating with that is your ankle mobility. A lot of times, if it feels better with like a 5-pound plate or a heel lift, it tells me that the ankle range motion is actually a little bit restricted and impacting the squats, because they should feel pretty similar, if not identical. Okay, but they won't if there is some ankle restrictions. Chris says I have lifters, but generally squat and metcons unless going very heavy. Okay, yeah, that's awesome. No, I mean, generally you want to be, if you can get away with it, squat without weightlifting shoes. But you know, it's not, you're not gonna hurt yourself or anything if you do. It's just you want to try and be able to squat as naturally as possible, okay, without having to be relied on, you know, certain shoes to be able to do so. Okay. All right. Hopefully all that makes sense, guys. All right. All right. I want to do a test. You guys are like probably wondering, like, okay, how do I test my hip flexors and know if they're tight? We're gonna get into that just a second. Started warming up squats barefoot until 70-75-ish to keep my mobility in check, but wear lifters when I get heavier. Yeah, I'm good with that, guys. If you guys want to wear those when you get heavy, I'm perfectly good with that. All right, perfect. All right. So what we're gonna do, I am gonna grab a bench. I don't have one in here right now. I'm gonna grab one real quick. Okay, be right back. All right, you guys could do this like at the edge of your couch. It could be the edge of the couch. You could do it on the edge of your bed. So what you're gonna do, I'm gonna speak a little bit louder here so make sure you guys can hear me. All right, so what we're looking for, this is called the Thomas test. This is a test that we use as physical therapists to determine, do we have tight quads, do we have tight hip flexors, do we have a tight IT band, all right? So what you're gonna do is you're gonna sit at the very, very edge, okay? And what you're gonna do is you're gonna lean back, you're gonna bring your right knee to your chest, all right? And what we're doing is we're looking at this knee, all right? So I'm gonna show you what a tight quad looks like. So you guys can see my foot, my shin is kind of kicked out a little bit. Ideally, we want it 90 degrees. This is natural. This is where we want it to be at. If it's tight, it'll kick out. Okay? So anywhere from here to here, that indicates it's tight. And the reason for that is we have our quad. Okay? Our quad muscle. Your quad muscle starts at the hip, goes all the way down to the knee. If that's tight, what it's going to do, when the quad activates, it actually kicks the leg out. Okay? Even at rest, if our quad's really tight, it can kick that leg out. Okay? If we don't have any force on it. Okay? So again,
if you do this and you notice your leg kicks out, it's telling me the quad is pretty tight and you kind of at an increased risk for knee injuries or knee pain. All right. One thing we can do too here is test to see if the hip flexor is tight. All right. So a tight hip flexor, again, the hip flexor attaches from here to here. And if it's tight, okay, what it's going to do is it's going to lift the leg up. You guys see how my leg's at an angle? Okay. That tells me the hip flexor is tight. If my hip's able to hang freely down like this is what it should look like. Okay, if it's tight, it'll be up like this.
Vice versa, we can also tell if the IT band is tight
by doing this test, all right? And if I see a patient's leg kind of swing out like this, okay, the IT band attaches from here to here. If it's tight, it's going to swing that leg out. Okay, it should be in alignment, okay, with your body.
All right, so that's one way to check to see where your hip flexor tightness is at, your quad tightness is at, and your ankle tightness. Okay? Hopefully that makes sense, guys. All right, again, disclaimer, this is not any diagnosing going on here. Okay, but I want you guys to at least be able to get a decent sense of what can be going on and what's restricting, whether it's tight hips, if it's ankle mobility, or what have you too. Okay? All right, let me pull up my slides. We will move on as long as there's no questions. All right. I'm going to skip over kind of like the injury since nobody's having any knee pain or anything like that. I'm just going to skip over that unless someone wants to speak up and says they're having knee pain. We can definitely backtrack there and do that. Okay. All right. I'm just going to go, you guys are probably like wondering like, okay, what the hell does a good squat look like? All right, there's so much misinformation out there on what a good squat looks like and what it should look like. And Brooke says, right leg, hip flexor is so tight. My right hip flexor was like 2 inches off the table. Yeah, and so I wouldn't be, this is something we're seeing a lot too because everybody's sheltering in place, sitting more. Everybody's working from home. Nobody has standing desks at home. So they're sitting more, and then that hip flexor is getting so tight. Okay, so you're not alone, Brooks. This is super common. I guarantee most of the people, everybody else in the workshop's having something similar. All right. Okay. So first of all, we're going to go over on how to squat properly. Okay. Oh, my right hamstring. Oh, your right hamstring was like 2 inches off the table. Yeah. All right. So first of all, everybody's squat may look a little bit different. There is no perfect way to squat. All right. Everybody's a little bit different because, like I said, we all have different anatomical variations with regards to the skeletal system. Some people have really long torsos. Some people have really short torsos. Some people have really long femurs or their thigh bone, or people have really long shin bones. That's going to change. That's going to change how people squat. All right. So nobody's going to squat the exact same. I'm going to show you what's considered the textbook way to squat, and I'm going to show you some variations you can do from that are okay. All right. So again, I'm going to try and talk as loud as possible. If you guys can't hear me, let me know. I don't know what's going on with my AirPods. All right, so first of all, we already kind of addressed, Chris asked a good question at the beginning on is it okay for my toes to be angled out, or should we focus on getting those pointed straight ahead? Again, you can have that variation, okay, just slightly toed out or pointing straight ahead. I like to have shoulder width apart, okay, stance. You need a good base of support, stability. The more stable you are, the more you're going to be able to lift. Okay? If you have a really narrow stance, it's hard to kind of stabilize yourself. Okay? You want a nice wide base of support, wide stance, about shoulder width. You can go slightly wider if you need to. All right? Again, some people can go. If you look at like Olympic world-class Olympic weightlifters, they go a little bit more narrow, and that's okay because they have the mobility, the hip mobility, and the crazy ankle mobility to be able to do so. But a lot of times people don't have that. Okay. So again, you can go a little bit narrow too. That's all right. We can get some variation, but traditionally it's about shoulder width. Okay. So the next thing is this is one thing I see a lot is people doing quad dominant squats.
All right, they're overutilizing their quads and it's leading to knee pain. Okay, and it's also making the movement inefficient because we're not activating our hamstrings or glutes. All right, our hamstrings and glutes are massive muscles, some of the biggest muscles in the body. And if we do a quad dominant squat, we're losing a lot of potential strength and power from not being able to utilize our hamstrings and our glutes like we should. Okay, so I'll show you what kind of a quad dominant squat looks like, so you guys have an idea. I see a lot of people that have a history of back pain because they're afraid to bend forward or hinge. Okay, or hinge at the hips. So I see this, right? So you can see my torso is very upright. My knees are going way past my toes. Again, there's a false narrative that your knees should never go past your toes. That's false. You should have the capacity to do it. Right? If somebody comes in and has knee pain, am I going to have them do a lot of squats with knees going way past their toes? No, because there's added stress to the knee when we squat and have our knees go past our toes. However, if you don't have any knee pain, you have no mobility restrictions, there's no reason that you can't allow your knees to go past your toes. You should have the capacity to do it. We do it when we go stand up from a chair. We do it when we go up and down the stairs. It's functional for knees to go past your toes. Right? So this is what a quad dominant squat looks like. So you guys can see I'm not getting any hinging or anything at my hips. This is what a squat should look like. First of all, we want to unhook our knees like this, and then from there we are sitting back and going into the squat and coming back up. Okay, out. So you guys can see one way you can tell if you're doing a quad dominant squat or if you're doing it properly is put a chair behind you. If I did a quad dominant squat, I'd miss that chair completely. You guys see that? However, if I squat like I should and get good hamstrings and glute activation, you guys see how I'm able to sit in that chair and come back up? Okay, my butt's all the way to the back of that chair, right? Sitting in. Okay, if I do a quad dominant, I'm missing that thing. That's a good way to know if you're doing a squat properly or not. You can do box squats, you can put a box behind you, tap, and then go. Okay, that's a good way to know if you're doing a squat properly. Alright, one trick that you guys can do, I'm actually going to head out to the squat rack. So you guys can, I'm going to give you some tips and tricks. So a lot of times, a lot of you guys, I don't always cover this in workshops, but because a lot of you guys aren't having pain, we can kind of get more into performance type stuff. So I'm going to give you guys a trick. So when people fail at squats, it's usually because their chest collapses down. Let me turn this fan off. It's usually because their chest collapses first. Okay? So you can keep that chest up. It makes the squat max increase substantially. All right. So we got our squat rack here. It's a little bit shorter for me. All right. One thing that you can do to keep that chest up is actually squeezing your shoulder blades back. All right. So a lot of times I see people, and this is it's not a wrong way to do it. But I see a lot of people that get underneath the bar and their arms are really far, wide and kind of far apart. That's okay, all right? But if we bring our hands in closer, like this, okay, it pulls the shoulder blades together, and by doing so, it keeps my chest up more, okay? And it allows it so my chest doesn't collapse down, okay? Keeps that chest up, and I'm able to, then I don't have that chest collapsing like this, okay? So again, that's the first thing that goes usually when people fail at squats. So if you bring, and as long as it doesn't irritate your shoulders, that's a good way to get that shoulder activation and that stability to be able to keep that chest up, okay? One thing too is I see a lot of people when they do squats, their knees collapse in, and this is due to hip weakness. So one trick that you guys can do is when you go into a squat, is pretend like you're trying to screw your feet into the ground. Okay, when you pretend to screw your feet into the ground, it pulls those knees further apart. Okay, you guys can see my knees when I screw my feet in. You guys see how my knees come out.
Okay. That's one trick that you guys can do to make sure everything's tracking properly as well. Okay. Hopefully that makes sense, guys. And by also by screwing the feet in, we talked about how important like having a good base of support when you squat is. Again, it just helps hone that stability in, and you're gonna be able to propel, and you're gonna get better propulsion and power from the ground up because you have that good stability in the feet. All right, and it just works its way up. Okay. So, any questions on that before we kind of get into the mobilizations and the stretches? I know it's kind of a lot of information. Hopefully I'm not making you guys too dizzy. Close your eyes. If I am, just walking back into the room so we can do those, get into the stretches and the mobility exercises. All right. So, a lot of you, some of you guys had some limited ankle range of motion. We're going to be going over some exercise you can do to free up the ankle. All right, so what you're going to do is, a lot of times people only stretch one of the calf muscles. There's actually two calf muscles. All right, a lot of times people are neglecting the other one. Okay, we have the gastroc and the soleus. The gastroc attaches above the knee joint, soleus attaches below. So we can manipulate which one we're stretching, whether that back leg is bent or straight. All right. I think I have proper squat mobility, but I'm always quad dominant. My quads are typically sore after squatting, not my glutes. Okay, so what I would, so I would make sure, a lot of times people feel like their glutes are turned off. So I would see if you can go ahead and put like a box behind you and make sure you're sitting back and doing the proper hip hinge. Okay, proper hip hinge movement. Okay, and again, that's just putting that box behind you, unhooking the knees, and then the first movement after unhooking the knees is sticking your hips back and then going down. Okay, another thing too is, don't put, there's research out there that shows that, and it's clear cut, if you put more weight on your toes, your quad activation shoots up. All right, if you keep the weight a little bit evenly dispersed or even a little bit more biased towards your heels, it boosts the activation of the hamstrings and the glutes. Okay, so shift the weight a little bit back and get more hip hinge and work on just getting those hips back first, okay, before you start bending the knees. And that should help quite a bit, okay? There are quite a few, and that's a totally different topic, there's like a term out there called glute amnesia, or where people say that they feel like their glutes just don't fire. There's quite a few exercises you can do to fix that. That's a whole different topic. I mean, we can cover that in another workshop for sure if you guys wanted to. If a lot of people are having that, but it's a pretty easy fix. Okay, but a lot of times if you get that proper hip hinge movement, it'll light up that glute. You'll start getting that activation. Okay, but yeah, I mean that's super common. We see that a lot. Okay, but back to my point about the ankles is we have the gastroc. Okay, that's muscle attached above the knee joint, soleus attached below. We can manipulate which one we're stretching by whether it's bent or straight. So what you're gonna do is you're gonna come up to a wall. Doesn't matter what this front leg's doing, okay? You just want stability. Come up against the wall, push against the wall. Okay, keep that back leg straight. Heels on the floor. Should feel a stretch up in that calf muscle. Okay? And you guys want to hold that for about ideally 30 seconds for time purposes tonight. I'm not going to be going over the entire 30 seconds. You guys can also switch and do the same thing other side and just see which side feels tighter, if they feel similar. Most likely if you have core ankle mobility, core ankle mobility on the right versus left, it's going to feel more tight in that right. Okay. All right, so that's going after the gastroc. Next one we want to do is go after the soleus. That's the muscle that you're going to feel when you stretch it. It's going to be a little bit lower. So to do that, we're going to keep that back leg straight, heel flat on the floor, and then from there, we're going to take our knee and drive down in the direction of the floor. Okay, so we feel a nice stretch down lower in the calf. Brooke says, I've seen you squat a lot, and I know you set your hips back when you squat. Wonder if your weight is too forward. those glute exercises we do before squatting is for glute amnesia, from Dr. Stuart McGill. Yes, Stuart McGill is the man. All right, he's awesome. All right. So yeah, do those glute exercises, whatever, if Brooke says it's coming from Stuart McGill, that's some good stuff. All right. So those should help. If you still have continued difficulty with glute activation after doing those, shoot me an email and I'll send over some that can help. But most likely if Stuart McGill, and of course if Brooks is saying it, it's got to be some good stuff. All right. So I'd start there. All right. Any questions on those? On any of the questions on those calf stretches at all? Okay. They're super simple, but it's low-hanging fruit. What I mean by that is you're going to make the biggest changes with the simplest exercises like that. Okay. The best way to loosen up muscles is a combination of stretching as well as foam rolling. Okay. So I'm also going to show you guys how to foam roll the calves. So for those that have a foam roller, you guys can grab that. All right. And then I'm going to get on the floor here. Make sure you guys can see me and hear me. So I see people foam roll the calves and the quads incorrectly all the time. Well, not incorrectly. It's just they're just not optimizing as much as they could. All right. So the calf muscle, it wraps from here all the way around. Okay. It's not just on the very, very back. It wraps around. I see a lot of times people will foam roll with just their toes pointed straight up. That's only hitting part of that calf. All right. Again, the calf wraps all the way around, so we can actually point our toes out. Okay, and get the outer parts of the calves. Okay, and then also point our toes in and do the same thing. I'm going to angle this down a little bit more. Okay, and if you guys find a tight spot there, like, for example, let me find one. Won't take long. That's another thing too, guys. Physical therapists aren't perfect either, myself included. I've got some tight calves. All right, that's what I'm working on. So right now I have a knot in my left calf. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to pause on that. I'm going to bring my toe up, then point it back down nice and slow, then back up, then back down. All right, and you can do like 10 oscillations there. Okay. So what this is doing is it's pinning that muscle by just pausing on it. It's pinning that muscle over the top of the foam roller, and as we move our foot forward and back, it's shortening and lengthening that muscle. And by doing so, it's rolling that muscle over the top of the foam roller while we have added pressure. And it's a pretty advanced technique. It's intense and aggressive, but you should be able to tolerate it. Okay. If you guys are doing like the foam rolling like this with two legs at once, and it's not quite intense enough, what you can do is you cross one leg over the other and do the same thing. Okay, so this is pretty intense for me. Actually kind of making me sweat a little bit. All right. And again, you can rotate the leg over, back and forth. Ideally, I see a lot of people foam roll a little bit excessively. You don't want to be foam rolling much more than 2 minutes for each muscle group. Okay, that's more than enough. And just do that twice throughout the day. You guys can do the stretches twice a day, 3 sets for 30 seconds. And again, you guys will get all the videos with this too. You guys don't have to memorize it. All right, and then foam rolling twice a day for 2 minutes. Okay, so that takes care of the ankle. All right, you guys will be able to make quite a bit of improvements just from doing those for ankle mobility. Next, we're going to get into some hip mobility. All right, so let's go over some stuff that you guys can do without the equipment. All right, so what you're going to do is one of the muscles that gets tight is a muscle in the hip called the piriformis. It's a very small muscle in the glute. All right, what you're going to do to stretch that is you're going to lay on your back. You're going to cross your right leg over your left, grab the back of the knee, and drive it into the opposite shoulder, or towards the opposite shoulder. So the right knee should be going to the left shoulder. You should be feeling a nice stretch down in the glute. Okay? And ideally hold that for about 30 seconds. Okay? But again, for time purposes, we got some other exercises to get through. We want to get through as much as we can so you guys have a good reference. point. All right, now we're going to do the same thing on the other side. Left leg over the right knee, grabbing the back of the left knee, driving to the right shoulder. Should feel a nice stretch in that glute area again. Okay? Make a note on where you feel the restrictions on. If you feel like the right side is tighter than left versus right is tighter. It just gives us a good insight on these are, it's treatment, but it's also testing as well. This is something that we do as physical therapists is it helps clarify the diagnosis that we've decided on how patients respond to certain exercises. All right. So if we suspect piriformis tightness and we do some testing and that's what's coming up, and we start, so the subsequent treatment would be doing piriformis stretching, right? So if we give a piriformis stretch and they don't feel anything, we're kind of barking up the wrong tree a lot of times. Okay. But if they say that they really feel it's really intense on that side, that they're having pain or discomfort, and if they feel like that hits it, that's just adding more confidence to my diagnosis, okay, and what I came up with. All right, so it's also treatment as well as testing at the same time. Okay, let me pull up my slides here so I can see what other ones we had planned. Right. Oh, one thing that you guys can do, one other test that you guys can do to determine is if your piriformis is tight. Okay, if that piriformis is tight, it can limit your squat depth. So you can do is you can actually sit. Okay, I'm going to sit on this box. All right, you need to make sure that your feet are hanging freely. All right, what we're going to do is we're going to pause here. All right, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to try and bring this foot out as much as possible and then back in. Okay, how far am I able to get out? We ideally want to get 45 degrees. All right, so you guys can see I'm a little bit limited here. All right, remember disclaimer: physical therapists aren't always perfect either. Okay, I'm working on it. Then we're going to do the same thing on the other side. So you guys can see my right side is a little bit better than my left. My left is a little bit restricted comparatively. All right, you guys see how much more I can go on my right? I got some work to do on this left. Okay, that's a good insight on piriformis tightness and if you're having hip limitations. Okay. Hopefully that makes sense. Let's pull up other exercises. Okay. So another thing you guys can do, this is one of my favorite ones, is the squat opener. So this one tackles both the hips as well as the ankles at once. Okay, it's pretty aggressive. It's not comfortable, but it works. Okay, so what you can do is, don't judge me by our kettlebell collection in this room. It's our yoga studio, so they don't look too like great kettlebells, but they work. All right, and that's what we need to serve the purpose for. So what you're gonna do is you're gonna grab kettlebell, and what you're gonna do is and you don't necessarily need a kettlebell. This just makes it a little bit more aggressive. You can do it without. I'm gonna show you what it looks like without. So what you're gonna do is you're gonna get into your ideal squat width with regards to the feet, and you're going to get yourself down here, and what you're gonna do is you're gonna try and pry your knees open with your elbows by driving your hands down. Okay, it's gonna open up the hips, and then from there, I'm rocking back and forth. Okay, so I'm working my ankle mobility by going back and forth. I'm opening on getting my hips open. I'm spending time down at that bottom position of the squat, getting more comfortable into that so I can own that bottom position of the squat. All right, you can use the kettlebell. The kettlebell is going to make it more intense, right? Because that weight's going to be falling down. It's going to help pry open those hips a little bit more without you having to contract and fatigue out through your arms. Okay, that's one way to make it more intense. Okay, you really don't have to do like 1 or 2 minutes of that, and it's going to free things up quite a bit. Okay, it's pretty aggressive, but it works. No, I'm saying these are a little too pretty, right? They haven't been through the ringer. We've got other kettlebells out there that look like they actually belong in a gym. These don't exactly look like they belong in a gym, in my opinion. All right. All right. So let's go ahead And let's look at the other exercise I had planned for tonight. All right, so the other ones, so those are all the ones that you guys can do without any equipment. I'm gonna go over some other exercise that you can do with the bands. All right, and you guys can just tag along, you can watch. You don't have to actually do these. But at least you guys will have me to walk you through it. And again, I'll be sending these through video for reference. Okay, there's already a band set up. See, these are what real kettlebells look like. They actually look like they belong in a gym. Brooks said she thinks it's cute. Well, I'm glad you think it's cute, Brooks. All right, so what we're gonna do is, that band's a little bit thin, that's okay. All right, you guys will get the gist of it. Okay, so what you're gonna do is, we talked about the hip capsule, okay? It can be so that not only are the muscles tight, but it can be that the joint capsule is tight too. We talked about how the head of the femur fits in that hip socket. These banded exercises are gonna help kind of distract it, right? We talked about how people can get pinching on the front part of their hip, okay? If that hip flexor is tight, remember to sink back here. Well, if we can pull this out, pull the joint out and get some mobilization there, we're gonna get less pinching, okay? Versus if we're deep in that socket, it's gonna pinch a little bit earlier. If we can go here, now it's gonna pinch later, or may not pinch at all. It shouldn't be pinching at all, okay? So that's what this banded mobilization is doing. It's gonna help open the hip joint, and we can also simultaneously work on loosening up the muscles too, okay? So what you're gonna do is you're gonna go in a half kneeling position. This band should be up as close to your groin as possible, okay? So we're trying to get as close to that joint line as possible. And then what we're doing is we're taking our our elbow, driving our knee out, okay, simultaneously. And then we're just relaxing. We can do some oscillations, okay, going in and out. Let that band do its job, okay. Nice and slow. You can do sustained holds. You could do some rotations with this. Open up the thoracic spine, the mid-back, okay, all right. And again, I do like maybe 15 oscillations or spend like 30 to 60 seconds in this position, and then switch and do the same thing on the other side. Okay? Any questions on that one? All right, while I wait for the questions to come in, if there are any, I'm going to move on to the next one. Okay, so it's going to help strengthen or stretch out that hip flexor. Okay, we're going to go into a half kneeling position. Again, that band should be as close to our groin as possible, and then we're just squeezing this left glute. Okay, this is going to help make this stretch more intense. Squeeze that left glute, pull the rib cage down, and then we're shifting the hips forward. Should feel a nice intense stretch on the hip flexor. So Brooks, this would be a good one for you. You said that with that Thomas test, you noticed that leg came off the mat. Okay, so if anybody knows that they have tight hip flexors or sit quite a bit throughout the day, this would be a great one for you guys. Okay. All right. Any questions on those banded mobilizations? There's so many different types of banded mobilizations, but those are the two really aggressive ones. And again, it's all about low-hanging fruit. I'm giving you guys the best ones. There's tons of other ones out there that are going to help too, but they're not going to help at the same extent that these are going to help you. Okay. All right. Okay, so you guys are probably tired of me jibber jabbering by now. Going on like an hour, right? Just want to double check and make sure there wasn't any other exercise I want to go over. Yeah, that's the majority. Okay, that's the meat and potatoes of all of it. Okay, so I want to open up to questions. Okay, questions about anything in the workshop. Any pain points you guys might be having, any mobility restrictions you might be having. Squat form, any questions about anything. All right, this is your chance to, and I've got nothing, I purposely didn't schedule anything after this, all right? So I want to make sure that I had enough time to address any and all questions, all right? No question is dumb, I promise you. The dumbest questions are ones that aren't asked because people are embarrassed to, okay? I want you guys to be able to ask questions, and if you guys don't feel comfortable asking questions in front of people, you can go ahead and you can email me, all right, or private message me as well. I'm happy to ask questions there as well. And then if you guys have a certain topic that you guys want to address for next week, let me know. Okay. If you guys want any evaluation to figure out where your main mobility restrictions are at, just let me know. I'll be putting a link down here. Because you guys came to the workshop, you get 50% off initial evaluation. Typically it's $225, but because you guys came tonight, it's only $112, 50% off. You guys are probably wondering, okay, what does an evaluation look like? So what it essentially is we do a full body analysis. We check out where are your mobility restrictions at, where's your strength limitations at, is it a motor programming issue, is it because the glutes aren't firing, is it the core is not working like the way it should, is it down the chain, is it because your feet aren't strong enough, is it mobility restrictions at the hip, knees, ankles, the whole shebang. Figure out exactly what's going on and why it's happening. We do a video analysis of squats, deadlifts, running mechanics, you name it. We do a video analysis of it to figure out what's going on. And then we come up with a kind of a game plan from there based on what we find during the evaluation. If you guys are unsure if you need an evaluation or if it's or not, what I do before I schedule anybody, I don't want to waste anybody's time. If somebody calls me and it's a quick fix and they don't need an evaluation, I'm not going to have them come in for evaluation. I just send you guys a couple exercises that should take care of it. If it's something a little bit more severe and something that's going to need, a few sessions, an evaluation, then we'll have you come in. But I always do a 10-15 minute phone call with you guys before scheduling anything to make sure that it's actually warranted for you guys to come in or see if it's a quick fix and whatnot too. All right, I'm not here to waste you guys' time. All right, but yeah, I think that's pretty much it. Again, I'll drop the link if you guys need that. Thank you. Yep, you guys are more than welcome. Thanks for tuning in and listening to, or deciding to tune in on a Thursday night to listen to me jabber for an hour. Hopefully you guys found it helpful. So yeah, Caitlin, Chris, Peter, you guys are more than welcome. Again, appreciate you guys tuning in. But yeah, if you guys have any other questions or anything, just let me know. If you guys have a preference for a workshop topic for next week, just let me know and I'll tailor it to whatever you guys are having pain points with. But yeah, if you guys don't have anything else or any other questions, I'll let you guys enjoy the rest of your Thursday night. But yeah, I will see you guys next week. All right, bye guys.